Changing our habits and lifestyle is something we all need to think about. But it's easier said than done. We carelessly litter and it winds up in the ocean. It's a silent killer. I'm Τζόακιμ Όντελμπεργκ. I'm a film and photojournalist, and as a fellow international, I serve the highly respected Explorers Club. I love our unique planet, and I have dedicated my life to increasing awareness and striving for a more sustainable future by showing the natural world that many of us take for granted and few have seen up close. Everyone I talk to says the same thing. The greatest threat to everything is palm oil. In this series, I'll be traveling around the world to learn about the impact our lifestyle has on different species and on nature. How climate change impacts biodiversity both in the sea and on land. We managed to capture one of the silver tips, and it's been disappearing from Cocos, but now it's coming back again, and they don't understand why. I'll be looking at criminal activity and exposing the negative effect it has on different species, as well as taking part in turning negative trends into positive ones. My only traveling companion is my camera. In my lifetime, I've seen dramatic changes in the ocean. I got my first diving mask when I was 3. It was the best gift ever. I couldn't even swim, but life below the surface called to me, drawing me in. I wanted to know what was happening. I wanted to see real live fish and crabs and other animals where they lived. There were lots of them back then. Now, there are very few. Yeah, I just quite recently woke up, and I think it's so amazing to wake up in the middle of the sea and you don't have any land in sight for as far as you can see, you know. This time my job has taken me to Costa Rica. I'm headed to one of the world's most unique places, Cocos Island. A beautiful island in the Pacific Ocean, approximately 550 kilometers from the Costa Rican mainland. The island was made a national park in 1978. Only park rangers may stay here. You can't go ashore without special permission. In 1991, the national park was extended to include the marine ecosystem surrounding the island, which includes around 99,700 hectares. On the ship, there are also top scientists within different fields of shark conservation.
These acoustic tags to deploy in sharks.
Todd Steiner has a lot of experience saving endangered shark species and is leading this expedition here at Cocos Island. This unique environment draws researchers from around the world.
We're at Cocos Island. It's a national park. It's a UN biosphere reserve. And its protection over the last decade in particular has really allowed it to flourish with the wildlife that lives within the reserve.
There are over 500 different shark species in our ocean. Sadly, our lifestyle endangers most of them. Cocos Island is a hotspot for biodiversity thanks to its isolation and nutrient-rich waters that surround the island. I'm here to document the shark research. We need to understand that a healthy living sea is a prerequisite for all life on Earth. Some of the people who understand this are from the University of Costa Rica, and they're also doing shark research.
This project started from the interest of the park rangers in Cocos Island National Park because they needed to have a way to know what's happening with their sharks and ray populations, because how are they gonna protect them if they don't know what's happening? To involve them into the field work, and that way we're gonna provide them with equipment, and that way they can continue doing this survey over a long term.
Research vessel Argo is on a 15-day expedition where diving tourists are also welcome.
Right now, we are just prepping gear. We have these things called the gangions, which is composed of a tuna clip that will get clipped onto the main line, a hook, obviously, which the bait will go on.
Citizen science has become very popular among tourists. To be able to join research expeditions and help out hands-on is an exciting way for many people to travel, while at the same time learning more about what's happening in the world. They have a huge variety of sharks here, and also manta rays, stingrays, tunas, dolphins, orcas, humpbacks, everything. And that's because the water here are so rich, a lot of current meet up, and a lot of nutrition comes up from underneath, from the depths. That's why Cocos Island is one of UNESCO's World Heritage Sites and a marine protected area.
Marine protected areas are a key conservation option for protecting sharks and other organisms. From the big ocean we have just a small amount of marine protected areas, so we need to increase these limited areas that can be protected in order to make sure the rest of the ocean will have the necessary resources.
Marine protected areas work really well for the resident animals that are within the protected area. But so many species in the ocean are highly migratory. And so you can protect them while they're at Cocos, but if they have to swim to the coast to pup their babies or swim somewhere else to feed, once they get outside the marine protected area, they're being hammered by industrial fishing.
Well, we as a scientist know from several studies that sharks are severely going down, declining. Big predators populations had declined, depending on the species, but had declined over 90%. And that's mainly because the overfishing, that's one of the main causes, and that's related to the high demand for their fins in different Asian countries.
They are killed by the millions, and the main reason is the shark fin industry, which is biggest in Asia. The fins are sold at a high price and often illegally. Fishing boats wait just outside the Cocos Island protected area and catch the sharks that swim past. The park rangers are the real conservation heroes. They work to protect the sharks and make sure that the rules are followed to prevent poaching.
A couple of years ago was a serious problem, but the illegal fishers are changing the fishing art thanks to the work of the park rangers in Cocos. 2 years ago, the Costa Rican government built a new radar, and we can see all the vessels around the island, so we protect the island in a better way right now. I think that the illegal fishing problem is not a serious problem in Cocos, no anymore, no in this moment.
Today I got the privilege to follow the ranges of the Costa Rica Islands. We see that life are thriving here on Cocos, and sharks are coming back. But only here, and that's a really good example of how marine protected area works. And if you just leave it alone, they will thrive with life. And will spill over as well, so the fishermen outside will have more fish to catch.
We're heading out for the first dive. Hopefully, we'll see several shark species. The purpose of the expedition is to find out how sharks migrate. so we'll be attaching transmitters to them.
This sends out a signal, and then when it swims past one of our receivers, it will record this specific number, so we'll know that the individual shark that we marked was at that point.
We try to use a method that is not invasive, and it gives us reliable data about sharks and ray populations. So what we use is baited remote underwater video system, which is basically a stainless steel structure with a camera, with a bait arm and a bait container to attract the sharks close to the cameras. And we deploy the cameras from the boat with a line, so we don't even get into the water. The information we got with these videos, it allows us to understand shark distribution, shark abundance, depending on the season, depending on the year, and trying to understand the effect of environmental drivers, temperature, depth, habitat, health, related with the shark population.
Once the movements have been mapped, we'll be able to see where more protected areas are needed. Our first real dive to tag sharks. We made our way down to shark point 1 at the depth of around 36 meters where we wait. This is where we have the best chance of seeing the sharks we want to tag.
There are so many animals here. The abundance of large pelagic wildlife is just unbelievable. And part of the reason why they're here is because of these unique cleaning stations. So just like all animals, they need to stay healthy. And they come in here, especially after the mating season, and the females have large mating scars from the males all along them. And these little fish, these barber fish, come in and pick off the dead skin and the parasites and allow the animals to heal. And so it's actually an important, it's a hospital here. It's a clinic to recover after mating.
It's extremely difficult to get close to sharks at 36 meters, and we don't have so much time on the bottom before we have to begin our ascent. We must constantly be aware of what's going on around us. Sharks can be curious and may swim up and nibble you, and a nibble like that can be catastrophic. Right here, not very long ago, a diver was on her way up and was bitten, and unfortunately, she bled out and died from her injuries. Suddenly, I see Todd swimming off like a torpedo, and I can't keep up. I fumble with the camera and curse myself for not setting the focus. God, how frustrating, but Todd managed to tag a hammerhead shark.
What we've done here is started to tag animals to understand where else they go. So we have silky sharks, we have scalloped hammerhead sharks, we have whale sharks swimming back and forth between the hopeful marine protected area, the future marine protected area, the swimway.
The work that Marta, Todd, Alex, Lisa, and the others do here is extremely important for the shark's survival and future. I've dived my entire life and have never seen anything like it. Hundreds of hammerhead sharks swimming around you, and you're right in the middle of it.
Cocos Island has one of the largest populations of scalloped hammerhead sharks in the world. They school here in the hundreds, probably in the thousands. But these are highly migratory species, and so they're only here for a part of their lives.
We see there's clear differences between dry and rainy season. On rainy season, we have these migratory species that come to the island. For example, hammerhead sharks. We might have more Galapagos, more silky sharks. And that might change the community structure of the ecosystem.
Being here, 30 meters down and seeing all the life gives me hope. It's a clear indication that marine protected areas preserve life. I feel an incredible love for what I see, how it works, and that it works.
When I came here for the first time and I dove underwater, I thought I was looking back in time to a time before we had industrial fishing destroying the oceans. I really felt like, wow, probably a lot of the oceans looked like Cocos, but they don't anymore. You go to so many places now and there are no sharks left at all because they've just been completely destroyed, completely wiped out.
Damn, that was awesome. The dive ended up in the big blue and we wound up among a school of hundreds of hammerhead sharks that were swimming over us and under us and around us. That was the first time I got to experience that. Wow. What worries me, though, is that the scalloped hammerhead is declining dramatically and are classed as critically endangered. We must understand that health to the sea means health to all life on Earth. I spent thousands of hours below the surface, and I've seen the difference between marine protected areas and areas that are not protected. The difference is extreme in terms of biodiversity. The unprotected areas have very little life. Commercial and industrial fishing have cleaned them out. There is nothing left. While the protected areas teem with life and have a chance to slowly recover. It's proof that we need more protected areas. If life in the ocean disappears, so will we. Now we actually reached a place where they're going to try to catch tiger sharks, but also hammerhead, silky shark, Galapagos, and a few more. We dropped anchor at Isla Manuelita, at the northern end of the island, home to the most shark-rich waters around Cocos Island. Sharks are most active at dusk, night and dawn. That's when they hunt. We set our clock for the ungodly hour of 3:30 a.m. in the middle of the night, and we head out to shun the water to attract sharks and hopefully draw a few to the boat.
All right, so we've just finished setting the line. We've basically set a line of 10 hooks, nine or 10 hooks baited, and we're gonna hope that we catch a tiger shark or a silvertip. This is kind of their area. It should be light soon, so that'll make it easier to work up the sharks if we do catch them.
Conditions are great. There used to be large-scale poaching here, but community involvement has led to increased understanding.
For example, an example in Fiji where fishermen change from fishing sharks to taking tourism, for example, in small areas, and that has been used as a model. So other communities in Fiji wanted to join, and they created a shark reserve, for example.
Pepe, who is driving the boat today, used to be a shark fisherman. But when he realized how destructive the industry is and how important living sharks are, he changed to save sharks around Costa Rica. His knowledge for finding them is invaluable. Pretty soon we catch a shark. It turns out to be the incredible, beautiful and mythical Galapagos shark, one of the sharks on our wish list. The team doesn't have long to attach a transmitter, measure the shark and take DNA and blood samples. They try to work as fast as possible so the shark doesn't become too stressed. If you turn sharks' belly up, they fall into a kind of trance and become much calmer, making the work easier. You have to be able to work and trust each other in stressful situations. Lisa and Alex are experienced. They've done this many times before. They work methodically, step by step, so they don't miss anything important. It may look painful for the shark, and it probably is, but the information this shark provides can save and give protection to thousands of sharks.
Hook out first and then release the tail rope.
The hook in the mouth is designed so that even if the shark swallows it, it won't get stuck anywhere. It's been designed to do as little damage as possible.
Woo! Just had a Galapagos shark on the line. We pulled her to the side of the boat, gave her an internal acoustic tag, did some measurements, took a fin clip, and then we just released her. So, first shark of the trip, we're real excited.
The research team works non-stop to tag as many sharks as possible during the 15 days we're here.
It's just frozen?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're having to cut through.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah, bone. Want me to bait and you can set the long line? We are interested in tiger sharks, hammerheads, silkies, and silver tips. So hopefully we'll get one or many of those today.
Helping make a difference for these sharks, sharks that have lived in our oceans for over 400 million years, feels awesome. And getting to document world-renowned shark researchers in action and show their work feels so important. Suddenly I see a shadow below me and realize it's another Galapagos shark, but this one is huge. They can reach up to 4 meters and weigh almost 200 kilos. You must have respect for these animals.
Very slow, very slow. It's a monster.
It's a big one. Ooh, tail rope is on.
Tail rope's on.
Tagging shark is physically demanding, and you have to be extremely careful about where you put your hands, because if you're not, you can lose one. They measure, take DNA samples, then blood samples to find out what substances such as heavy metals are in the shark's body. They also look for microplastics.
There we go, okay. So we need to get this.
Siempre viendo los pies. Okay, I'm coming. Wait.
We have a silky shark on the line, and we're about to place a satellite tag, this here, on the dorsal fin. So this will send a signal to a system of satellites every time the shark is at the surface. This will allow us to track the shark as it moves in near real time.
It was a successful day. We tagged and took samples from a variety of shark species. The research team has made real progress in their work.
So our research has now shown that there are 5 different species that swim between this marine protected area, Cocos Island National Park, and the Galapagos Marine Protected Area. And so while you're protected when you're at Galapagos and you're protected when you're at Cocos, if you're a shark or a sea turtle swimming in between and you're killed, then ultimately we're not going to get the benefits that we need.
Our goal is to get the government of Ecuador and the government of Costa Rica, which owns Cocos Island, to protect the swimway that's in between. Our hope is that this will become a no fishing zone along this
whole 396-mile corridor.
Cocos Island is a paradise for sharks and other species, but it's an exception. Almost everywhere else, they and other fish are killed in the millions by the fishing industry.
It's a really good example of that if you protect areas, life thrives. So that's actually something, a signal you should send out for the fisheries and the fishery politics throughout the world.
It's easy to point out problems when they are on the other side of the world. But what do things look like in Sweden, where I'm from? We're known for a long time that our unique inland sea, the Baltic Sea, is not well. Over-fertilization, overfishing and littering are a few of the reasons that the Baltic Sea is dying. Over 10 years ago, I started working with abandoned fishing gear in the Baltic Sea, so-called ghost nets. When we dove here, we found a huge marine environmental problem, a total disaster. Research has shown that in Swedish waters alone, these nets trap around 400 tons of cod and other fish each year. They just die and rot away. It's such an incredible waste. It's not just fish that fall victim and die, but also seabirds, seals, and the critically endangered Baltic Sea porpoise. This is still a problem in the Baltic Sea. These nets, along with other threats, have almost exterminated the Baltic Sea cod. Commercial fishing has a devastating impact on our oceans. Overfishing, bycatch, and discards are known negative effects, but they're also one of the big culprits in marine littering. Up until the early 90s, between 150 to 200,000 tons of cod were caught in the Baltic Sea each year and had been for decades, with a peak in the 80s when up to 400,000 tons of cod were caught. Unsustainable fishing policies and unsustainable fishing methods have depleted cod stocks in the Baltic Sea, which has led to more herring being caught and has devastated the marine ecosystem, causing eutrophication and algae blooms. We're making the same mistake with herring as we did with cod. We're fishing it to depletion, causing imbalance in the Baltic. I've made my way to northern Gotland to a place called R. There's a research station up here where they raise cod hatchlings. What the R research station hopes to achieve is getting the cod to spawn in special spawning pools. Once the females have laid their eggs and the males have fertilized them, the eggs are moved to smaller incubation pools, where they remain until the larvae have hatched. They stay there for 6 days, then they are released into the natural environment in a number of carefully selected locations in the Baltic Sea, at a depth of around 40 to 60 meters, and then they're on their own. If it turns out that this project called RECOD works, then they've really managed to turn a negative trend into a positive one. Imagine if they saved the cod in the Baltic, then the entire Baltic Sea would be healthier. Researchers are doing all they can to save the Baltic, but they need our help. If we don't listen and the business sector and politicians don't act now, it will soon be too late for our unique, beautiful inland sea. Approximately 3 billion people rely on fish as their main source of protein. And I'm not talking about the rich countries. Although rich countries are destroying things for everyone else, With unsustainable fishing policies and unsustainable fishing methods, such as bottom trawling, where a huge weight trawl is dropped on the sea bottom, digs into the bottom sediment, destroying the sea floor and capturing everything in its path. It captures a lot of unwanted fish known as bycatch. Research has shown that sea bottoms are incredibly effective at capturing carbon dioxide and binding it to the sea floor. But when the trawlers sweep past, they disturb the seabed and release the gases, adding to the climate crisis. It's not just the Baltic Sea that's facing big challenges. Eelgrass is one of the species disappearing from our waters. Not so long ago, it spread out like large underwater meadows. Unlike the trash on our beaches, this is a big problem we cannot see. Being in an underwater meadow of eelgrass, calm and quiet, is almost like meditation, utterly magical. But they're extremely important for the entire marine ecosystem and for us humans. They function as a nursery and playground for different species, such as cod and sand crabs, but also for other species which live off and around these meadows. They bind the sea bottom together and dampen the motion of the waves, and thus prevent erosion. So they are extremely important. They're also very effective at capturing carbon dioxide and binding it to the sea floor, where it's transformed into oxygen that we breathe. It's a globally endangered species. In Bohuslän alone, eelgrass meadow growth has declined by 60% since the 1980s. The Bohuslän coast is one of the worst affected coasts in Europe when it comes to marine debris. Thousands of tons of garbage float ashore each year. Fishing nets, trawls, twine, and old fishing equipment, if not ghost fishing somewhere, float ashore and continue to kill. They're broken down into smaller pieces, which eventually become microplastics. Plankton ingests these small pieces of plastic, and microplastics become part of the food chain, all the way to our dining tables. This is quite new to me. I thought it was rope lying around, and you find them all over wherever you go, and they are attached under a trawl, a bottom trawl, to protect the trawl itself from to be damaged. And it will kill fish, and it will kill birds, and it will kill marine mammals. This poor bird was entangled in a rope and probably starved to death. Talk about painful death. More than 1 million birds and 100,000 mammals die every year from being entangled or eating plastic from the sea. I honestly feel sick when I see all this crap and how we're ruining things. There's one place in all of Sweden that takes care of marine debris, and it's located here in Sotenäs. I'm going there now to dump this crap off. A project is underway in Sotenäs, a test bed for marine waste, where entrepreneurs and innovators get the opportunity to develop new products from ghost nets, abandoned fishing nets, and other marine garbage. Everything you see here is discarded and recovered nets that are no longer used. You can turn them in here where they are sorted. They take care of the different parts of the nets. All of this will be cut into pieces and then ground into shavings and turned into new products like furniture, clothes, raincoats, rubber boots, and eyeglass frames. There's fishing crates, a bit of everything. All of this will be recycled into new products. It's great that it all winds up here. This is a really good start to clean up our valuable sea, but this is only a tiny part of all plastic trash that ends up here. We all need to stop seeing the sea as an unlimited resource. We have to take care of it and stop littering. A lot of people think Sweden doesn't offer beautiful diving, but oarweed, bladder wreck and other algae create beautiful underwater landscapes. But you're once again reminded of how our lifestyle affects the environment. Something one often sees when diving are abandoned lobster pots, which lie there and continue fishing forever unless someone picks them up. According to the Agency for Marine and Water Management, 3,000 lobster pots are abandoned each year. They ghost fish and self-bait and capture and kill loads of crabs and lobsters unnecessarily. A good lobster pot, if there's such a thing, has something called a ghost wire. It's a wire that keeps the door closed, but when put in salt water, disintegrates and breaks. Then the door opens, rendering the pot harmless. And crabs, lobster and other fish can get back out again through the opening here. I think taxes on lobster pots without ghost wire should be sky high, so people feel compelled to buy lobster pots with ghost wire. I'm on my way to meet Janne Bark, who knows almost everything about mussels.
Tjenare Janne!
Ja, jag är här. Du vet var du hittar mig.
Pusselmannen.
Du kan ju ta dem här för det blir lite, de är lite vassa.
Häftigt. Det här vill jag faktiskt veta allt om idag. Bara ta så här liksom.
Ja.
Och kolla här.
Det är laxens favoritföda, så jag tänker den kanske vi...
En liten
borstmask.
Ja. Och det kittlar dödsskönt i kistan.
Ja, de är riktigt goda. Nej, det är faktiskt laxöringens favoritföda, så att när de kläcks då är det fart i viken. Det här är ju som ett eget ekosystem runt de här viggarna. Ja.
Most people know what mussel is. They live along our coast from the west coast to the Botnian Bay in the Baltic Sea. They're important to the marine ecosystem and work like living water treatment plants. Mussel help stop over-fertilization by absorbing nutrients.
Det är havets superhjälte vi pratar om. Det är ju häftigt. Den gör enorma insatser för våran havsmiljö. Ja. Och sen när man skördar den så är det faktiskt då man gör den stora insatsen, kan man säga. För då får man tillbaka kvävet och fosfor upp i havet igen.
Hur hållbart är det?
I princip så kan man inte se några negativa konsekvenser utav det. Det är inga tillsatser. De växer helt naturligt. Den lever ett eget liv utan att människan egentligen påverkar den. Och med de näringsämnena och proteinhalterna som de har så skulle jag säga att det är nog kanske en av de hållbaraste proteinerna vi kan ha.
In Sweden, there are about 15 different species of sharks of different sizes. From the quiet little small spotted cat sharks up to the gigantic basking shark that reach up to 12 meters and is the second largest shark in the world. Also, we have the Greenland shark that sometimes turns up here. They can live as long as 500 years and the females reach sexual maturity at 150. This apex predator eats fish and sometimes seals, but because of their slow speed, they often hunt prey that is asleep. The sharks are the top predators. They are the top of the chain food. They are the balance keeper. You can look at the ocean and the reefs and the ecosystem as the savanna in Africa. You have grass eaters, you have meat eaters, and you have these apex predators. And sharks are apex predators, and they've been around for over 400 million years, and they're still swimming in our ocean. And that, you know, you simply have to respect that. And they are so important. And if you remove sharks, our oceans will be unbalanced. Several shark species are endangered due to overfishing and the slow reproductive process. Today, the status of the lesser spotted dogfish is strong. Partly because it's protected, but also because there are projects like this one at Havets Zoos in Lysekil, where they breed and release these little sharks every year.
Hej Joakim!
Hej!
Vi ska släppa ut hajar idag.
Ja.
Och det är 3 stycken. Det är ju du som ska göra det här.
Ja, det känns helt fantastiskt. Hej lille vän.
Så.
Before releasing the sharks, they measure, weigh and tag them in order to track them. Klar, vilka små muskler det är.
Ja, då. 139 står det på den där.
If one of them turns up somewhere it's not supposed to be, for example in a fishing net, it should be reported. That was fantastic. I feel privileged to actually they gave me 3 little sharks to release here, and I'm so happy about that because, you know, be able to feel that you help and strengthen the population it feels good inside. And I have such a respect for Havets Zoos and Lysekil. They're doing this every year because this has been a threatened species, the small spotted cat shark. The biggest threat to the species is, of course, industrial fishing and bottom trawling. Not everyone is aware that around 75 to 100 million sharks are killed each year because of the shark fin industry. Unfortunately, the European Union is one of the biggest exporters of shark fins to Asia in the world. Between 112 to 150,000 tons of sharks are killed each year. It has to stop. They belong in our oceans and nowhere else.
It's a silver tip. Silver tip. Ooh, beautiful. Oh.
All right.
The team is ecstatic when we finally catch the last shark on the list, a silver tip.
Wow, he's a male.
And we had this fantastic morning. We managed to capture one of the silver tips that the scientists want to do research on because it's declining. It's a large shark that can reach 3 meters and prefers to live in remote locations like Cocos Island and often at a depth below 30 meters. And it's been disappearing from Cocos, but now it's coming back again and they want to understand why. So this is really important science. Even if it can look brutal, it's for protecting the species. So yes, it's been a fantastic morning and I had the opportunity to go in the water with the shark. I went down to see what it looked like from underneath. It was so exciting because they had shunned the water for catching tiger sharks. You never know. When you're snorkeling, you need to keep your eyes open to make sure there is no threat down below.
Done.
Done.
All right, finally. All right, we got our first silver-tip shark of the trip. One of the species we were hoping to get, one of the most beautiful species here. And it was just about 2 meters long. It was a male.
Fork length, 160.
We have another whole crew here who's interested in the health of the sharks, and they got blood. We got a tissue sample, and we got a muscle sample, so we'll be able to get a lot of data from this shark.
Unfortunately, it's technology that's allowed us to exploit so much more of the oceans. So in terms of fishing, we can go anywhere, and we can just vacuum the oceans clean. And the technology is there, but it's to our own demise to use that technology to such an extent. We need to have a softer approach to our existence on the planet if we're going to survive.
It's difficult. It's not going to be easy. There is a lot of interest behind fishing, not only for sharks, but for a lot of different organisms in the ocean. We've seen the ocean as a resource, not as wild nature that we need to protect, as it happens more inland. So we really need to make sure people understand that the ocean is important for us to survive, but we need to make sure everybody gets involved.
I've been given a unique opportunity to follow along the ship Submarine. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, and now we're going to do a deep dive. Every time they go down here, they film, take samples, and see if they can find new species and so on. Only 5% of our oceans have been charted and explored, which means that 95% are uncharted and unexplored. There is so much more to discover, so much more to learn and to understand. That's why it's incredibly inspiring to be allowed to join these researchers. Finally on location, and I'm so ready to descend to see all the marine life that exists where the light never reaches.
There's a dolphin.
Oh, yeah.
2 dolphins. 3
Dolphins! Dolphins! Oh, wow! Right away, an entire family of bottlenose dolphins swim around us. We left the surface but can still see them up there. It's not unusual to discover new species down here. I'm surprised by the abundance of life and how different some species look. When you're down here, surrounded by darkness and all these strange animals, it's hard to grasp that we affect life here too.
You know, we're one species out of millions on this planet. We need to give more room for the rest of the planet to survive, and our own survival depends on it.
You can think of the ocean as one single living organism that needs thousands upon thousands of different species in order to function. Just like a machine needs a lot of different parts to work, even if we don't know exactly what role each part plays. We know that if we start removing them, the machine will eventually stop working. It's exactly the same for our oceans. Overfishing, littering, eutrophication. If we take the ocean for granted, it will eventually stop functioning. A healthy living sea is vital to every living organism on Earth. Yet, there's still hope as more and more people become aware of the problem we're facing. I see more and more people choosing sustainable options, and if that's not possible, they go without. I feel great respect for people like Marta, Todd, Alex, Lisa, Jana and Helen, who are all doing what they can for a more sustainable future. But we have to change now. We have to take it a step further. It's up to us if coming generations are to have a healthy, clean and vibrant ocean, which is literally a prerequisite for all life on Earth. We only have one planet. We only have one chance.